Hello, this is Gonzalo Lira, and this is the Roundtable number 43, and I'm joined by Alex Stein. And this is going to be just, whoa, shit. What? Where the fuck is that? Hang on a second. Hang on a second. I'm getting like feedback. Hang on, just a second. Oh, there we are. Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry about that. I had another window open and I fucked it up. So this is going to be a totally stream of consciousness kind of thing. And this is, we're not going to talk. We're going to talk about geopolitics, politics, everything, but it's just going to be just totally random. And already had one snafu on the broadcast, so there'll probably be a lot more. So Alex, my friend, how's it going? I just declared Alex Alejandro. He is an honorary spic. So, cabron, man, how you doing? How you doing in the barrio, cabron?
Well, and that's why I have on my Chinese jewelry this morning. I'm dressed down, but I got this. I recently was at a party and I was given this ring. And then I had 50 Cent recently shared one of my clips. So somebody gave me this. So I put on all my fancy stuff for the show. But no, Gonzalo, no, it's such an honor and a pleasure. I've really enjoyed our roundtables with, multiple people on. But it's kind of funny because even in those circumstances, it's hard to have like the right etiquette. Like, have you been hopping on Twitter Spaces? Because for me, Twitter Spaces are hard because I tend to, take over the conversation just because I
really no, you're such a quiet guy. You're so shy and delicate, and so dainty.
Yeah, and then I'm like yelling at people. But do you like Spaces? What do you think about that? And to start off,
I can't get on Spaces because I don't have a smartphone. Okay, because they took it away when they arrested me back in April, and so I can't get on Spaces. What?
You don't have a smartphone at all? What are we? So we're on a laptop, and you don't have any sort of iPhone or anything?
Nope.
Wow.
Yeah, because this fucking war, man. They closed all the Apple stores. It pisses me off. I go to the Apple store, I bang on it. They don't open.
Wait, but somebody can't mail you an iPhone? I'll mail you an iPhone.
Yeah, sure, mail me an iPhone if you want to, but the question is, will I get it? Because the mail service is fucked to high heaven. So yeah.
No. Wow. I mean, I thought, gosh, and that's why this is what sucks, because this is why I'm so happy to talk to you. Is that, man, I had this like viral video, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but Joe Rogan played it, and basically it was me talking about how we are spending so much money, in between.
Brother, the only reason you're on is because you were on Joe Rogan. I mean, ordinarily, I'd never have you on.
No,
shut up. I
wasn't on it. I wasn't on it. The clip wasn't on it. I was not on it. He played the clip. But I'm saying I am anti-war. I'm anti-all wars. I mean, like, people say, when was the last just war? Maybe World War II. I mean, that's what I'm saying. That's when you say the last one was. But that's what I'm saying. Even that you could argue. But my point is, no war to me is just at all. So I feel like we should come to some sort of negotiation, but you're in the fight. I mean, you're there. So it just sucks because it's hard for me. I'm not able to be.
Right after this conversation, I'm picking up my AK-47. I'm gonna just shoot whomever I see. I don't care. Russians, Ukrainians, babushkas. Those babushkas, they're hard to hit. I'll tell you that right now, man. I mean, those little ladies with the scarves over their head.
Well, how bad is it? Shut up.
It's hard to hit.
How bad is it then? How bad is it right now where are you under constant threat of do you have anxiety of being the victim of a
2 packs a day, brother. So yeah.
So you're just sitting there ripping six. What? But are you more afraid of the Ukrainian forces or the Russian forces? Because aren't you having heat with the Ukrainians? Is it your beef with the Ukrainian?
The better part of valor is discretion. So I'll keep that to myself.
All right.
You can figure it out for yourself.
Well, let's talk about me. Let's talk about me.
Let's talk about you. You're the center of everything.
Of course. Well, now I feel bad. I don't want to.
No,
of course.
Well, first of all, how come you're dressed up in bling, man? I mean, I'm envious. I want those 50 cent chains, right?
I was just doing this guy Bubba the Love Sponge podcast. Like I told you, I just literally wrapped up his podcast. So he had this party where he has these fans, the super fans. They get invited to his studio for like a 2-night party. That's
nice.
And so so I started going on his show. So he invited me. He's just a friend of mine. So I'm just wearing it to be goofy because I was just on his show. But No, but seriously, I don't want to be. I don't want to totally sell you out. You know, I'm sure you are living in stress. I'm living in Dallas, and it's not that stressful here. But really, I don't know if you saw my video where I drive to. I work at the Blaze. I got a show coming out on the Blaze. I hope you guys will watch it. You know, I know you have a big audience, but my point
I'll
is,
put it on the link in the description. Sure.
yeah. Well, what I'm just saying. Well, we'll talk. I want you to have come on my show. I'm saying we're going to continue to talk. But Northwest Highway, this area of Dallas, Northwest Highway and Harry Hines. Now it's like an open air drug den. I'm serious. Like you can literally. No, it sounds like a joke, Gonzalo. But I posted a video.
No, I believe you.
This is my story. No, but I posted a video of it, and it shows the guy smoking the ice, and it got they got an age restricted on YouTube. All of a sudden, all my videos are getting age restricted on YouTube. I don't know why that's happening. Something in the algorithm changed. But it gets a bunch of views on my Instagram, gets a bunch of views on my Twitter. Now I drive by there, Gonzalo. There's 20 more people at the spot smoking the meth. I'm just saying, I made it like a hip hangout or something. It's next to this gas station, this coal station. I feel guilty. I drive by there. Now I'm like, holy crap, I don't even want to go over there. As a matter of fact, it's gotten so bad. There's a local, kind of like a right-leaning newspaper called the Dallas Express or whatever, online publication. Mm-hmm. And they're like, oh, we're going to go check it out. And they said it looked really bad. They went and wrote a story about it yesterday. I mean, it's just so even in Dallas, like this fentanyl crisis, it's just ruining lives. And I, obviously like crack was bad. And I remember in college, people were like on Oxycontins and stuff were bad. But this is the worst it's ever been because it's the strongest crap. Yeah. So that's why, as human beings, we've always had drugs. We've always medicated ourselves with drugs. But this drug is like so strong. It's just like, it's just too strong. It's not meant for
it fucks you up too completely. No, and the other thing, did you see that video of that guy in San Francisco? There was this crack woman or this addict, right, who was homeless and shitting right in front of his business for like 2 weeks, basically harassing him. Yeah. And finally, he just had enough and started, watering her with the hose, and he got arrested. Oh,
yeah,
man.
I know. For
Dude, it's like
assault or whatever.
Yeah, it's like topsy-turvy, and like the thing is, see, what decent people do is bad. And what degenerates, drug addicts, homeless people do in terms of destruction of common property or what have you, or spreading all kinds of weird ass ideologies to kids. Oh, that's perfectly fine. It's like the whole world went upside down, man.
No, it really is. I mean, even in the video, I showed like they're doing a drug deal in the video, and you're like, these people are just. They couldn't get a job at a homeless shelter. I mean, they look so rough. So they're doing something to get cash. Like you saw this person with the cash. Like they're probably something not just begging on the side of the street. So no, I mean that's the problem in our society. My family is. I grew up in a bail bond office. My dad's still bail bondsman. I'm actually licensed bail bondsman. Yes, I know that, but I hate the bail bond business. My dad still does it, but this is the problem. In these places like New York and California, they're doing bail reform. They're actually saying on Google now, bail bondsman can't even buy ads because they say it's quote unquote racist. But in reality, a bail bondsman is a person that's like a third-party police force. It's responsible for people to show up to court once they get out of jail. But because they don't have that in New York and California, there was a guy that was arrested 17 prior times in California, and then he went and stabbed a 23-year-old UCLA grad student in like this high-end furniture store and killed her. And that story is like over and over and over and then they tried it in Harris County here in Texas, and it's like it's a nightmare, the murders and all the crime, because the criminals realize that they're like, oh, you can get out of jail easy, go there, because the same form. But this is how it works. The same form in America, you're no matter what, you can have a public defender. If you say I'm poor in America, we will give you an attorney. It's to be kind of a crappy attorney. But that same form now is basically what's called an ROR form. It's like a released unowned recognizance. So if you say on that form, I'm totally broke, I have no money, then they're legally obligated to let you out of jail, in certain circumstances. Nice. Yeah. As long as it's not like, I think it's like third-degree felony or whatever the limit is. But under a lot, like there's a guy that rubbed feces on a woman in the subway in New York City and was out of jail within 24 hours.
Jesus Christ. So, I mean, like it's like falling apart. It looks like the West is just completely falling to pieces. I mean, I'm here.
And you say that you're in a war zone.
And the shit here is organized, even though it's a war and all that. And well, the city of Kharkov has not been, not severely damaged. like I tell people, you see, I've got this great picture of the building right next to mine that got hit by a missile back in September, right? It's really incredible, right? Right next to my building. I mean, literally, right? And I didn't realize how close it was because my apartment was facing the opposite side. But the lights went out because of it, and I had to take the staircase down. And as I'm going, and the staircase is on the side facing this building that was hit, right?
Wow.
And I got this perfect shot, but I can't share it because it would give people, there are some assholes out there who would love to know where I am. And so I can't post it, but it's really, really fucking cool. It's horrible. Death and destruction is horrible, but at the same time, war, fucking A. It's cool.
Wow. Wait, so you're telling me, like, when you look at it, what happens as soon as it gets shot? Does the military, they try to fix it? I mean, fix it, whatever.
They fix it.
So it's fixed? Yeah. They repaired it like that? Wow. Who repaired it? Like the military came and repaired it?
No. It was like regular contractors.
Builders. Oh, wow. That's insane. See, I don't even know how that works. I mean, for me, I just hate it, though. The war in the Middle East. Like, I'm a total 9/11 nut job. I believe, they had prior knowledge about 9/11 and they wanted it to happen. That's even official. Yeah, of course. So what I'm saying is, and then we go and we kill, millions of Muslims in the Middle East. I don't think that's very cool. I think it's very uncool. And so now it's like all these Ukrainians are dying. It's just not, what's going on? Why are we killing these people? I'm a conflict interventionalist. I just don't get, and then I get on these spaces too. And I'm sure you talk about it because you're like, oh, war, because you're in it. So
I'm not in favor of it, okay? But
I know.
It's kind of
you're here.
Cool.
But I'm just saying, it's like as human beings, it just seems so unnecessary. Like, why are you shooting at people's apart? I don't know why. But people talk about it like it's this necessary thing. I don't know. I guess that's one of my stances that I'm really big against.
The fuck out is that I think that the U.S. and NATO are about to escalate with like an air war. I actually tweeted about it just right before the broadcast. I think that they're gonna go for an air war.
Well, and I was arguing with Tom Fitton, where Tom Fitton and I were agreeing on everything, but I was like, yeah, this is all about like NATO. Like, Putin's so threatened by NATO. This is like this one world order, globalistic NATO is like encouraging us to start this. They want to flex their power or whatever military industrial complex, clandestine secret. But for some reason, like NATO does want to like poke the bear of Putin. Wow. And then all of like, and then a lot of Europe's biggest countries get their, natural gas from Russia. So why would they really want to fight a war with Russia? So my point is, I think it's the NATO is a huge thing. All the Ukrainians say is we're not going to join that, and basically we wouldn't be in this. And Tom Fitton's like, that's not the case. So do you that's it. I think so too. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's the big humdinger elephant in the room. Because what is the Donbass region really, Gonzalo? Do the people really want to? Don't they want to either be able to choose whether you're Ukrainian or Russian, basically?
Yeah, because what happens is, see, the whole country is basically half and half. Okay, and you can see it by the electoral results of the elections prior to 2014. The country is evenly split, 50-50, between ethnic Russians and ethnic Ukrainians, and the South and the East are ethnic Russian. And they have been. I mean, this city where I'm in, Kharkov, has traditionally been a Russian city. Crimea has been Russian since 1776. Okay, so they want to be Russian, or at least they don't want to be under the yoke of the Kiev government, because the Kiev government has been doing all these policies against the ethnic Russians, like forcing them to do everything in Ukrainian language. The difference between the language Ukraine and Russian is sort of like the difference between, like Portuguese and Spanish, or Spanish and French. They're similar but different. I mean, it's a different language. And what happened is that, the people in the Donbass in particular over the last 7-8 years, they've been shelled relentlessly. And in the West, they never talk about that at all, okay? And they never talk about the provocations that were going on. And basically, they wanted to do like ethnic cleansing. And ethnic cleansing was the reason that NATO went into Serbia and bombed Belgrade, because they said that the Serbs wanted to ethnically cleanse certain regions of the former Yugoslavia. And
that's the reason why they want to stop. They want to prevent ethnic cleansing, is what
exactly. And that's exactly what the Russians have been saying for the last 8 years, man. And NATO was like, and they just wanted to poke. They want a war because these guys, they're just warmongers, man. I've come to the conclusion that they're fucking evil. I mean, they're fucking evil. Okay. I mean, you and I, we can have a difference of opinion, right? but I respect you, and hopefully you respect me. And I know that you come from a place of goodness in your heart, okay? And I certainly think that, and I hope that in my actions I've shown that. But the point is, we can have a disagreement, and that's all good and fine. But these fuckers, they're evil. I mean, they want this war. And what's going on now is that the Bakhmut situation, they're about to lose huge. I mean, it's fucking a catastrophe, right? It's the biggest battle of the whole fucking war. And once this is lost, which is like really kind of like fucking inevitable, I think that the U.S. and NATO are gonna get into this shit. Like in a
dude, we're already in it. Gonzalo, they're training people in Fort Bragg in Oklahoma. That's 3 hours from me. That's like 2 hours from me. I'm in Dallas. I think Fort Bragg is like literally 2 hours or something. So there's Ukrainian military training in my backyard, quote unquote. Okay, we're in the war.
No,
we're in the war.
That's not even it.
I'm saying there's more. But I'm saying, but real quick, they're not Russian soldiers or Ukrainian. So we're in. We're on that side. We're in the war. Sorry,
yeah, and like they talk about the HIMARS and the M777s and all this weapon system,
Patriot missiles or whatever.
Yeah, who do you think operates that shit? Because it takes like 6 months to a year to learn to operate that shit. There's not enough time. It's Western NATO troops that are acting as private military contractors and say, "Oh no,
probably
we're
in Las
NATO.
Vegas." No, they're probably like, it's like a video game. Like Arrested Development used to do it. They teased it how it's literally like how they would sign up guys. They would think they were playing a video game and they really were killing people in Afghanistan. And it was like a military thing inside of a mall. And it like kind of really is like that, because when like a Julian Assange and what's the other guy, Snowden. I mean, well, those leaked documents, they really were flying drone missiles and shooting like weddings and funerals. Yeah. And they literally be a guy in Las Vegas or wherever their base is in Nevada. And like literally doing that was actually, it was in a military base, but it was really like that. There was a person with a, flying a drone in America, killing people in Afghanistan.
I want to ask you, and I mentioned this before we started the show. I want to ask you. I had no idea that you came from a background. Your dad was a bail bondsman, and that you are a licensed bail bondsman too.
Yeah, I got to go to bail bond school again. Every 2 years, you have to get relicensed. It's just like an 8-hour course, or you can sign up where it's over the weekend where it's 4 hours and 4 hours. But I do the all day 8 hours. They have like 4 times a year or something. But I have to go because my certification is up to keep my license. So even though now I got other stuff going on, so I'm actually kind of excited.
How do you go from being a bail bondsman to I don't know how to put you like a internet guy or a 50-cent
internet guy, a pimp on a bib. Yeah. No, because he shared my video recently when quadruple viral. No, I'm this is how. So a little of my backstory. I'll give us the cliff notes so it doesn't take all day. So I graduated from college in 2010, moved to LA, became an extra at Central Casting, and I didn't have a job, and I worked on like a bunch of shows like The Office and all this stuff, and like, and you could see me in it. Then I got on this reality show called The Glass House, and I was like the villain. I got kicked off too early. It was like the show where you live, and you can all search this guy type in Alex Stein, The Glass House, where you like live in the house, you vote each other off. And I was like going to be the villain, but I did it wrong. I get kicked off early, so I got kind of jaded. I moved back to Dallas. I started working for the show Cheaters that I'd worked for in college. But I started working there again. I signed an NDA, so publicly I can only say so much. But you can kind of look up into Cheaters, where I can only say so much. But my point is, I became a producer.
You're okay. I have no idea about the show.
We catch people cheating on their husbands and wives, and it's been on the air for like 20 years. Yeah, and it would like the host got stabbed the first season. That's why it's famous. But what I'm saying is, it's a show about catching people cheating on their husbands and wives. The host is a guy named Clark Gable. His grandfather is the guy, Clark Gable from Gone with the Wind, the famous actor, and his is his grandson. Well, he was my good friend, but he was a party animal. Like Gonzalo, like I like to party, but he made me look like just blew me out of the water. And I'm talking about it. Yeah, he was he was wild. He was even wilder than me. Like I would be like, whoa, Clark. But he grew up in California, so he had like these California doctors where they would like prescribe him like, Vicodin or like Xanax, right, or something, you know what I mean? And we'd work in Dallas. He'd like fly to Dallas. He had like an apartment in Dallas, and he would with his like fiance and his 19-month-old baby. But so he would have those pain pills, and he ran out of like Vicodin or something, and he had a high drug tolerance. So he went to the freaking to like a drug dealer and bought a pill that was pressed. It had fentanyl in it. And overdosed and died. Yeah, with his 19-month-old baby and his fiance. It's really tragic. He was a good friend of mine, and so after that, I quit drinking. Like, it totally changed my life.
His girlfriend also died?
No, just him. But I'm saying he was in
okay.
bed. Like he likes to party, but he was just kind of taking it to go to bed. You know what that's my point is like he wasn't even drinking, I don't believe, that night or anything. You know, he was like a party animal type guy. So the fact he was like in bed early with his fiance and daughter, it was just not as, you know, it's not a wild night for him, to say the least. And he didn't wake up. And
a lot of that going around, isn't it?
Of course. And so yeah, of the fentanyl waking up dead. No, it's happening like crazy. And so, just long story short, so then they said, Alex, you're going to be the next host of Cheaters, and I was like so excited. And then when it came around April 2020, they picked this guy Peter Guns and Viacom, who distributes the show, which owns VH1, CMT, and MTV. They made him change his name to, you know, Peter Panky, because they didn't want to glamorize gun violence. And so like he's like the 52-year-old, you know, black DJ from New York, because that's kind of like the audience of the show. So it makes sense. But they wanted me to still work on the show, and I was like, F that. And that's when I created my own podcast. And then because of that, I started going to city council meetings, started trying to create different content. And then I started speaking seriously. And then when I started going really nuts, that's when I went viral. And that's why I'm now on your podcast for the third time, I believe.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on, man. And I really wanted to have you on solo because, I mean, look, I get a huge kick out of you. And I think a lot of the stuff that you're doing is just so good. I mean, that's why Rogan picked you up, man. I mean, that must have been huge.
Well, that clip, I know, gosh, I just want him to have me on. I don't want to sound inconsiderate. It's like, please, because, you know, that blows everybody up. They even say, like, if you go on Rogan and you don't, you know, become a millionaire or something, your life is messed up. Not that I'm going to become a millionaire from it, but he puts you over. I think that's why he doesn't want to, you know, he doesn't want to. I don't know. I know he'll have anybody on his show, but I just don't know if he wants me to go on there and be anti-jab and anti-this and anti-that. You know, he doesn't, you know, he might not like that. And I would understand that.
He's got to toe a very fine line at this point, you know, because, I mean, right now there are so many people gunning for his hide, you know.
Exactly. So, he's number one.
Yeah, and so he's the guy. Him and Tucker Carlson, and both of them have to watch their asses very, very carefully. And so I understand that. I mean, like, you know, when he moved over to Spotify, there were a lot of episodes of his previous podcast that didn't translate, and sort of like just went, you know, poof on the internet. And yeah, I understand that, you know, because when he was starting out, he could afford to be, you know, more fringe or more out there. But, you know, it's understandable. I mean, you don't like it. But at the same time, you know, it's sort of like, you know, part of the playing the game. By the way, did you hear this whole kerfuffle insofar as Steven Crowder is concerned and that whole shit show with the Daily Wire?
Yeah. So I didn't see the Daily Wire's response. I should have watched it because it's funny, you know, like I said, I work at the Blaze, and the Blaze, I don't think they wanted to pay him millions of dollars because his audience is so big, you know. My point being is, you know, none of this is, I don't think he has any bad blood with the Blaze from what I understand from him and from. Yeah, no, I just wanted to make that clear because everybody's like, oh, is your heat with the Blaze? No, I just don't think the Blaze wanted to pay him millions of dollars, which he really deserves. To be honest, he does have that big of an audience. But Daily Wire, what was the response? Because I didn't even go through the response, sadly.
I didn't go through the response either. I caught it just before the show, so I didn't have the time to do it. But yeah, it was really clear. I started hearing from the grapevine of content creators. Yeah, it was the Daily Wire, you know, and that was the first thing that I heard about. And I don't know. I have I get this sense that the Daily Wire is controlled opposition, and they want to bring on people sort of like give them money, give them a platform, but at the same time kind of muzzle them. I mean, they brought on Candace Owens, right? And she used to be a lot wilder and a lot more out there. And she's really trimmed her sails. And she's a smart woman, you know. I mean, you know, kudos to her. But, you know, she realizes that in order to be in this corporate environment, you have to be a little bit more careful. I mean, I personally, that's why I like doing YouTube videos, because I can say whatever the fuck I want. And if I embarrass myself or do something or say something foolish, who cares? You know, I mean, it doesn't reflect on my corporate masters because I don't have any corporate masters, you know, except Susan Wojcicki. I love you, Susan.
I love you.
I want to have your babies.
No, and you know, to go so far as to say it's like, Candace Owens was probably wilder than she gets to the Daily Wire. I have to be honest too, because like I like to even be wilder, but I don't want to say even the craziest thoughts because you have to play the game a little bit because you can get canceled. I mean, there's so many just simple statements you could say. It's like there's a joke, and it's I don't even want to get canceled for saying the joke, but there's like the fastest way to get canceled. The fastest way to get canceled is to say that only 5.9 million people died in the Holocaust. That's like the fastest way to get canceled. So and I'm not trying to speak bad about the Holocaust. I'm just saying you cannot talk about it. Kanye West. There's just certain subjects. Everybody, I agree with the official statement of the Holocaust. I'm just saying, I don't want to. There's just stuff you can't talk about. You instantly lose your credit card. You lose stuff, and that's kind of scary. You get kicked off of all the platforms. So there is some stuff you can't say, and that's kind of scary. That freedom of speech doesn't exist.
No, it was unbelievable how Kanye West just got obliterated from like 2 billion. He lost like 80-90% of his fortune in one go. I mean, not even his Apple Pay worked in that video of his, like saying my Apple Pay doesn't work. And this is fucking Kanye West, man. He's supposed to be like the richest dude of hip hop or whatever. But no, it's really creepy the way that you cannot say shit nowadays. And the thing is, my thinking has always been, let people say whatever they want, okay? And there are always going to be fringe figures who say all kinds of bullshit and balderdash, right? And that's perfectly fine, because the more the merrier. And so like the cream rises to the top, and the crap, hopefully, sinks to the bottom. And so, let people speak. But when you start trying to control it, I think that that's so foolish because ultimately it becomes a game of whack-a-mole, I mean, like, I think that the whole censorship thing is foolish, but that's the way it is. In my Twitter account, now that I'm back on it, like today, I got a message from Twitter saying that they had checked some of my tweets, right? They had been reported, right? And it was like 10 tweets. I actually tweeted out the letter. It was like 10 different tweets that were the most innocuous things because people realize that you can get canceled. They can use the corporate masters to censor you, and they take advantage of that opportunity in a very cowardly way, as far as I'm concerned. But at the same time, I think it's funny. I think the whole fucking thing is just hilarious. Probably because like here, shit of like real life and death is happening, and so when you see all this nonsense online, you're like, what the fuck, man? I mean, your life is so easy. You're not worried about whether there isn't going to be any running water tomorrow. Like shit, I went to like some buildings here and some office buildings, right? And they had to cut off the heat, right? So the whole fucking building is ice cold because right now it's below freezing, right? And because of it, all the toilets froze. I mean,
wow.
froze solid.
Because here in Texas, like we can't handle that. If it freezes, there's broken pipes everywhere. I'm sure you're built for it a little better there. But the toilets are just totally frozen. Wow. So where are you peeing? I wonder where they're peeing. You pee on the ice, try to melt it.
No, you pee out into the wind, and you know how it is, like hot water, like streaming out, so like freezes in the air. Yeah, you get a nice little dusting of urine all over the place.
Oh my gosh, what is going on in a war zone? The pee is freezing in the wind. No, the world is insane, and it kind of makes me like I'm clutching my diamond chain when I'm like the border crisis. But I was saying right before that that you see these images that go, every newscaster plays of the migrants getting dropped off at Kamala Harris's house, at the naval or whatever the naval base, or whatever that is called, whatever the official name of it. People are like, oh, that looks so intense. That I'm here in Dallas. That's literally every day. I walk around this place, Bachman Lake. There's like a Walmart, there's a Target. Literally, the bus, like there's buses that drop people off there. I mean, I get that it's coming from El Paso or whatever, and I see people get off, and they look the same way. They kind of have like a backpack, and oftentimes they'll have a mask on because they don't really know the rules or whatever, So they're just trying to be officially. They like want to follow the rules, to not stick out. And I'll see an adult male with like 2 or 3 kids. I'm like, that doesn't look like you know what I mean?
That doesn't make sense.
And I see that's what I'm saying. And I see younger type, kids and with these like kind of, I just see adults with younger people, and I'm like, this kind of looks weird. This just seems weird, it doesn't look natural. And that's just happening all over. And I'm not calling those people necessarily like quote unquote criminals. I actually I believe we should have immigration, but there's just no accountability, and there's children coming in, and they're the biggest victims of sex traffickers and predators, and it's like
did you
happening
hear
right
that
here.
gay couple that adopted a couple of kids, and they adopted a couple of kids from some Christian charity, and
Yeah,
they
and
were
I saw
molesting them? Oh man, I heard that, and I was saying that they should take them. Okay, for those of you who are more delicate, here comes a really nasty bit. So put your mute on.
Well,
I
yeah,
think
but you don't want to get kicked off YouTube.
razor
No, well,
blade
be
and just
careful.
slice
Yeah, be
them
careful.
up. You know, slice up their little parts.
I don't know if you can say that on YouTube. This is an intense
because that was
podcast.
fucking despicable. It was fucking despicable. You know, I mean, like, and they were pimping out these kids, and they were like 9 and 11 years old. Man, motherfucker, I've got a 9-year-old kid. You know, I find that horrifying. You know, I mean,
it's the most disgusting. It's the most repugnant. No, there's nothing you can even say to even justify it or even make it make sense. And it's constantly happening where people are exploiting children. I mean, I think I don't know how it happened in the past. I'm sure because like you see Catholic Church stuff, I'm sure child sexuality stuff was prevalent, but I think now it's way worse than it's ever been. It's way more dangerous. It's not like a person like stealing your kid in a van with candy. It's like a person that has access to your children at the church or the camp or the whatever, and it's just like everybody's a sexual pervert because they're over sexualized from pornography, and it's just people are touching. It's just a very dystopian, scary world out there, especially for children right now. It makes me kind of nervous to have kids, to be honest. People are like, why haven't you had kids? I'm scared to death to have a child. I definitely want a kid. I'm saying I at times I'm like,
married?
gosh,
I don't actually know.
I'm single. No, I'm single. Oh, I mean, I'm dating somebody right now, but we just started. But I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not. I'm a kind of a commitment phobe. I just don't. You know, I don't know. I'm getting older. I need to get married and have some babies. And I just now that I'm a pimp on a blimp, I don't want to settle down because now finally some girls like me, and they like that I have a YouTube following or whatever.
No, you know the thing that bothers me the most is Biden, because that guy, the sniffer in chief, that guy is into pedophilia. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you can tell a mile away. What do you think of this whole situation where they're throwing him under the bus with all these documents and shit? It looks like they want to get rid of him.
Yeah, but duh. I mean, and I think they want to use like the same, they probably planted those documents. He probably didn't even have an extra car logo next to his Corvette or whatever. He doesn't know. You think Joe Biden is doing housekeeping? You think he's reading those documents out there? Like Joe Biden's like, oh, classified. Oh, this is gonna. Yeah, right. He doesn't have any freaking. He's like, what flavor ice cream will we have today?
Yes, exactly.
So to be honest though, when you talk about the pedophilia, that's kind of what got me in the conspiracy angle. And once again, there's only so much stuff you can say now on YouTube. But when you really look into it, I remember for me, it was like the Pizzagate stuff. And let's say Pizzagate's fake or whatever, it's not a pizza shop. But you see the connection of like John Podesta and Tony Podesta and the type of art they have. And then Jamie Lee Curtis, you just saw this on Twitter. Her office just got exposed where she had like this art of like this kid in a briefcase. And it's just kind of like off-putting art. Yeah, it's creepy. And these are like in their like business offices where these are like high powerful people. So I imagine they're doing business in these rooms. That's what I'd imagine. So there's probably important type people in these rooms. And so there's just this weird thing where they have Marina Abramovich, who's a spirit cooker, and she does this like satanic, spirit cooking art. So like, and then you see like Lady Gaga's dialed in and all these celebrities are hanging out with them. And then you see the Epstein list and you see that's like all these powerful people and, all they want to do is investigate January 6th, but they won't spend one bit of resources investigating the Jeffrey Epstein's list. So you're like, why? There's like, we know they're pedophiles. You have Jimmy Savile, who was knighted by the Queen, who was one of the biggest BBC broadcasters to ever exist, that had access to like bodies at the morgue that he was supposedly doing stuff to. That was like the most disgusting person. They supposedly. Yeah, great. They would supposedly get kids from an orphanage and do stuff to them on a boat and drive them out like 50 miles in the ocean or whatever, far out in the ocean, and just throw the body and then just drive back and nobody ever see the kid again. But just the most repugnant stuff. So when you're like, oh, Joe Biden's a pedophile, and even though it's like, what is it? His own daughter's writing that in her diary. Biden. Like even with all that stuff, there is something weird with these people. And freaking kids, and like I don't.
You ever saw that picture of Biden kissing his granddaughter on the lips?
Yes.
Deeply creepy. My grandparents never kissed me on the lips, or my sister, or anybody, man. I I mean, no, that's just fucking weird. I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe when I was a little kid, I'm sure my dad maybe. I mean, not a bunch, but I mean, maybe once in my life. I mean, I wasn't making out with my dad. I'm just saying, he's doing really weird stuff with like these random people's kids. Like he's the way he sniffs them and stuff. And this is like totally tinfoil hat conspiracy theorists. It's almost like I feel like they like have to do stuff for the kids, so it shows that they're like part of some club or that there is something going on where they're like in. I know that sounds crazy, but I do believe that I do believe that they go to these places like. This is my example. Jeffrey Epstein. I believe he was some sort of agent for either Israel or the Mossad or something, and I think that there's a lot of evidence of Ghislaine Maxwell, her dad Robert Maxwell, who was murdered because he threatened to. He threatened to kind of blow the whistle on a lot of the business dealings that he did because he was a high powerful guy, and I think he was losing money. His empire, his like what a broadcasting or media empire was dying, and so he threatened the Israeli government. And when he died, they gave him a proper Israeli type funeral, indicating that he was some sort of, important figure in their government. So, but my point is, because his daughter, Ghislaine Maxwell, kind of took that over, that honeypotting thing, is they get you with the kids so they know you're in the club and they film it and then they have leverage on you. So that's why Joe Biden didn't care about some documents. Joe Biden's probably like, they got a video of me banging my daughter or something. I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying that facetiously, but it's like documents. Joe Biden's like, he's laughing. He's laughing about the documents right now.
Yeah, because as I understand these kinds of blackmail operations, it's not that they're gonna say, "Oh, we got you on film, diddling little kids or something like that." No. What? Yeah. And we want $100,000 from you or something like that. No, they don't want money from you. They want you to do stuff for them and simple stuff. I mean, like, you're a congressman, right? And you're part of this little club doing God knows what to young children. And they'll call you up and say, "Hey, why don't you vote this way on this bill? It doesn't really affect you. It's just a little favor. It's no big deal." And the congressman, of course, will vote, but also he will call in a favor and say, "Hey, I need some money for my reelection. Do you know somebody?" And the Ghislaine Maxwell figure or whoever's at the center will say, "Oh, yeah, sure. I know this other guy who's part of our little circle." And he'll set you up with, whatever contributions you might need for your reelection. I mean, that's the way the game is played. It's not that they're blackmailing them for money. It's just like, it's like a criminal gang. Like, the mafia, you had to make your bones to show that you were in the mafia so that they had like dirt on you and you're like part of the club. It's the same fucking thing, man. It's fucking
Gonzalo, this is how I can prove that politics are a scam. You spend millions of dollars on a campaign for a job that only pays $160,000. You know what I mean?
And you wind up like Nancy Pelosi sitting on like a few $100 million. Oh, come on.
So that shows you, I mean, there's a little more than just the, whatever the payment. It's about leverage and that's influence. School board, yes.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So listen, like we had an elementary school teacher that was hired here that was transgender to teach art, and which is, that is what it is. I'm really not anti-trans, but then they went and looked at their Instagram, a couple of parents did, and the person had like a really weird like Instagram and child art on there, very weird. And then the district, they took screenshots of it. Then the district had her deleted, and just that was weird. And then they also have a diversity book in the elementary school now, where they're having a speaker, the author of the book, who is a trans non-binary person, that's going to come speak to the children and read the trans non-binary book. So I think that's weird for the elementary school. Personally, that's like this new woke thing. And that's what the parents told me about it. They're like, we really got to stand up against that. I'm like, those are two issues which I have fought against, the sexualization of children. Listen, I actually like the gay flag, the pride flag. We need that in New Orleans outside of a gay bar. You want to know if it's a gay bar? There's a lot of, we have it as a pride flag. I'm just saying, I'm not anti-pride flag. I think that pride flag should exist. But the only difference between a gay man and a straight man is their sexual preference, or a gay woman and a straight woman is their sexual preference. So why are we glamorizing people's sexual preference in an elementary school? Like, that's why I'm saying, why are we there's too many pride flags, there's too many trans flags at the elementary level. I could argue high school, I get it. You got to teach sex ed, whatever. Maybe. I can, man, just saying that's borderline. But dude, this is going on in elementary school. These are in second grade.
They don't know shit about sex. They don't have no idea.
Why is I just don't know why a non-binary author is coming to speak to the children of a third grade class. I just don't. I don't think it's. I mean, if maybe an athlete come and speak to, I don't know who speaks to third graders. I don't even know. But a freaking non-binary woman to teach about gender ideology to elementary school teachers, I think that seems the minimum requirement we should not do.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, like a small kid, like third grade or something like that. I remember they had this thing of like teaching kids about different disabilities and what it meant. And so they had like a blind woman, I remember. There was a deaf person. There was a person in a wheelchair that sort of taught us or explained to us the difficulty and the situation of being blind, being deaf, and all that. And I remember it had like a big impact on me. And this is like the 70s, man. I'm 54 years old.
But that makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes really a lot of sense. How they brush their teeth. I think we did that same thing. I think I remember learning that same kind of the same thing as a young kid.
The thing I remember, the question I asked the blind woman, I remember, because I have terrible eyesight, and so there was actually a time when it was feared that I might go blind. And the thing is, I asked her, how do you tell money? How do you tell money apart? Because all the bills are the same size, right? And she said, well, I fold them in a different way if they're a single or a fiver or a tenner or a 20. And then I asked, well, how do you know if you're getting the right change or the right money? And she said, well, unfortunately, I just have to trust on whoever's giving me the money that they're giving me the right amount, And so it was really interesting. I mean, I remember that vividly, and I must have been like in the third grade, fourth grade, something like that. But the kind of stuff insofar as sex, a kid before puberty, they have no idea what sex is about. They have, you ask a kid like a 6-year-old, a 9-year-old even, where do babies come from? They're actually going to look at you and say, I actually don't know. They come from the mommy's tummy. But other than that, they have no fucking idea, as they should or should not know, because they're too young. It's ridiculous.
It doesn't make sense. It's over-sexualization of children. So I'm running for school board, and the problem is that all these people told me, oh, you're not going to win. Now I'm nervous. I'm probably going to win, and then I'm going to have to do this school board thing, for a while. And so that's be
but
careful.
Actually, it would be a good opportunity, because if you do win, you could actually show the mechanics of how these people try to insinuate themselves into the school.
Of course. Oh yeah, that's what they don't want to. I mean, it'll be a content farm if I'm there, really seeing it, as a trustee. So, and they don't like that because I mean, I have no, like, what is it? It's not the pride, but I'll expose it all. Some of these people think they're worried, like they're so worried about their reputation and stuff like that.
I'm still listening. I'm just going to freshen up my coffee.
Oh yeah, but, no worries. I'm just saying, I just think that I'm truly anti-establishment is my point, and that's what makes them, fear me the most. Is
they don't like the libs of TikTok. The libs of TikTok I always found fascinating because she's not making anything up. She's just showing the shit that they're putting on TikTok, and they want to cancel her. They doxed her. What's her name? The Washington Post woman, Taylor Lorenz. Oh God, I despise that woman. But they know that they're doing wrong, and that's why they want to hide it. Okay, I mean that's the thing that drives me a little bit nuts. Because if they thought that what they were doing was okay, they wouldn't have a problem with libs of TikTok. They wouldn't have a problem, showing what they're doing. But they're doing it in this insidious way of like sneaking in because they know fundamentally that what they're doing is wrong.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why they're in the cars doing it, complaining about how their students didn't call them the right pronouns, and they're getting emotional. And it all seems so silly. But just by screen recording that and sharing it, she's become the biggest thorn in their side possible. And it's just putting a mirror and reflecting what all the young teachers are saying. And I get it. I get that. But I remember as a student, I had gay teachers that I didn't know their sexuality. They're gay. Like now I'm looking back, I'm like, oh, that teacher is gay or something, or, I don't really, maybe the PE coach was gay, but I surely didn't remember having any sexual talks. And I remember all the computers, like we tried to look up boobs on the computers. You couldn't, they were pretty locked. Now they have VPNs and stuff. I didn't know how to do that back then. I mean, when I wasn't a techie back then. That was a long time ago. The internet was a lot slower.
Like I didn't even know the first names of a lot of my teachers, let alone their sexuality or their.
Exactly right. The first name. That's a really good comparison. If you don't even know their first name, much less now you know all about their gay cruise where they got married and they, I mean, seriously. And we went to school before the Facebook age. Now you have your teacher social media. It's like that. Like I talked about that teacher at Higher. they just looked at her social media and she had a weird social media. And I mean, I'm actually encourage artistic people, and I kind of want to be edgy and weird myself. So I don't try to like hamper people's creativity, but it's just like, maybe being a third grade art teacher is kind of weird if you're kind of into weird stuff. But the, it's happening subversively. It's like you were just talking about, like that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, see, back in the day, a lot of these perverts, I mean, let's call them what they are, would become a priest, because a lot of these guys, like I lived in Manhattan for a while, and because of like friends, I happened to get into like the whole fashion business, because one of my best friends in New York, his sister had like this high-end boutique store. And, we get to meet models. I mean, that was the whole fucking point of it. And the models that we got to meet would say, oh, yeah, there are like photographers, they're just regular photographers, right? But there are a lot of them who are in there because they're trying to, get tail, because they figure, of course, where is the prettiest girls? They're going to be models. Okay, so I'll become a photographer and work there, so I have access to these pretty girls. That's why a lot of these people got into the Boy Scouts, got into the priesthood. And now they're getting into elementary school, and they're pushing this shit, and because they
figure out how to be near kids. They figure it out some sort of way.
Yeah, and so like it deeply disturbs me, and the whole homeschooling thing. I think it's going to become a huge deal, because these schools, they're not teaching the kids much except this gender ideology bullshit. They're not actually educating them. The kids, man, they are so ignorant. You've seen those broadcasts where they go up to some college student and ask, when did the Civil War end? They have no fucking idea.
No. They look at the standardized test scores now, and for my district too, the kids like in 6th grade are reading at like a 1st grade level, 2nd grade level is how they're scoring on the test. Really bad. So I don't even know if we can stop that, though. The movie Idiocracy was a great movie, but that really—
It was a documentary. It was a documentary.
It was. I mean, because it's almost impossible not to get dumber, because we have a phone where we can get instant gratification and get any question answered. But this is what people ask me, like, what do you want to get across with your content? And really, I don't want you to ideologically have to align with me on everything, but I want you to kind of question the reality in which we live in. But now people are too lazy to even ask questions. They just want to believe the official narrative, whatever the TV tells them, whatever booth should be on, whatever Ukraine flag to post in their bio. They don't want to think for themselves. And that is one of our biggest issues plaguing society, in my opinion.
Yeah. Turning to something completely different. What's the, are you still having problems with your old friend, Ethan Ralph?
Oh yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's talk about internet drama. So yeah. Well, right now he's kind of cooled down. I mean, that corner of the internet. I want to really talk about your beef, because now they're gonna clip this, because all the Ethan Ralph heads. Sure. He's got the weirdest ecosystem of people that like hate him, and this is the people that clip him stuff. They all secretly love Ethan. Like, even though Ethan said the most disgusting stuff about me, I really don't even have hard feelings. He said the most disgusting stuff because he's such a scummy guy. I don't expect, I almost expect it from him. Like, it's not, I have a pit bull. If my pit bull bites me, I expected that. It's a pit bull. And that's what he is, And so he's just a rage pig, a bifurcated gun. And he's his biggest, he's his worst enemy, is the saying I'm trying to spit out.
No question.
So so I could actually root for him to do good. Like, I can hope, like, dude, I hope you do good. But he's not, because he's going to self-sabotage himself. Nothing I can do can self-sabotage him worse than himself. So I don't even really want to fight with Ethan. As a matter of fact, I hope Ethan takes care of himself and becomes a father to his son, who he's never met or only met one time, who he's fighting with his family, running from subpoenas. Being a deadbeat dad is not a cool thing. I know he has a lot of young fans, but I'm sure a lot of his young fans probably have dads that are involved in their life, because they're probably using their dad's credit card to super chat Ethan. But my point is, it's not cool to be a deadbeat dad for anybody. It's not cool. That's one of the biggest problems of society overall, is the deadbeat dad problem. And so men are growing up without a father or without a positive role model. And it's hard. It's not hard. I know people that, their fathers, this or that. It's not easy. Not everybody's guaranteed a father, a mother, this, that. But that is a problem in our society, is we don't have strong men,
Well, no, what happens too is that guys are basically encouraged to be weak. They're encouraged to
Yeah.
be like these passive guys who are always like, oh, is it okay if I touch your hand? Is it okay if I say this? Oh, you want to hear about my feelings? Because they're also constantly told to like share your feelings and shit. Fuck that. No chick wants to hear about your fucking feelings. No, she
No,
wants
dude,
to talk about her feelings.
yeah, it's a feminization of men and the masculinization of women, and that's true. Like we talk about it. I mean, just Bill Maher, whatever which way he leans, which now he's obviously leans left, but now he's kind of coming more in the center. But the amount of kids that identify as non-binary or trans in 2022 compared to 1962 is like 100,000%. I mean, it's an astronomical increase. I mean, it's not even, it's almost hard to even put on a scale or a graph because it's so absurd. I mean,
Well,
obviously you can put on a graph.
I heard something about that. Like in this private school, I think it was Phillips Andover, which is this shishi private school, right? Most of the kids who go there go to the Ivy Leagues or top tier schools, right? And they were saying that 60% of them identify as straight, and the other 40% as gender fluid, gay, bi. I mean, a whole cornucopia of different sexual attitudes, which I think is just, it's just bad. It's just bad because ultimately
it's very confusing. I'm just saying we're confusing kids, and like sexuality. I get it when you're like kind of maturing because before you have sex or whatever, you're horny. Like I don't know. I get it. Like I get how I'm saying I can understand why a kid might have sexual confusion, quote unquote, but what they're encouraging the sexual confusion is the problem. It's they like want them to be sexually confused. So now the kid's like, I'm poly. They're like, good for you. Here's your poly shirt flag.
The thing that's really obvious to me is that girls, especially post puberty, right? Girls all of a sudden their bodies start developing in weird ways that they're like, what the hell is going on with me, right?
Yeah.
And their boobs are coming out, their hips are getting a little wider, all kinds of weird stuff is happening to them, and they freak out, which is perfectly normal. It's a normal stage in development where all of a sudden your body is changing as a female. And you're like, what the hell happened? A few days ago, I was just playing dodgeball and I was perfectly fine. And now these things are popping out of my chest. What the hell? It's normal. Yeah. But we have to tell them that it's normal and not say, hey, maybe you'll be happier as a boy. What the fuck? I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And society was way like simpler. Girls would make out in college or something, and they wouldn't be, trans or non-binary. It's just like a thing. It's just like a flirtatious, fun thing. But we've lost all the fun. Now it's just it's all like get a mastectomy at 14. You're a trans hero, and then Chloe Cole, who detransitioned, now she's at 18. Transitioned to a boy and now transitioned back to a female and just cut off her breasts. I mean, it's just.
It's tragic. Yeah.
I just can't believe we have a system that do that. That where a kid can just do that. And so that's like, I don't even really try and like virtue signal like I'm some, a savior, because I'm not. I'm not a white knight. I can't save the whole system, but I would like to bring attention to.
Well, what I'd like is some more moral self-confidence. The self-confidence to be able to say, this is right and this is wrong. And this, you shouldn't do it for very good reasons, But we have lost that because in the name of tolerance, we're all in favor of all kinds of crazy ass stuff because we don't want to feel out of step. We don't want to be canceled. We don't want to say, hey, no, this isn't right. This is wrong. And so the line of what you tolerate has been pushed so far that all of a sudden you're swimming in this area of the pool that is way deep and way crazy, and you don't want this. You don't want this for the children because ultimately. We will all be replaced by the kids who are, growing up today. In 20 years, you and I will be gone, and there'll be a couple of other people here who are the kids of today. And we don't want those kids to be radically confused and completely fucked up. I mean, that's the thing because you were talking about this girl who detransitioned. I don't know her. I have never interacted with her. I wish her only the best. And I don't mean to say this in a despective way towards her, but what I say is that she probably has a lot of very serious psychological problems because of this trauma that went through her, that she lived through. And what kind of adult will she turn out to be? I mean, I hope and pray for the best of her. I'm not putting her down. I don't want to sound that at all. But what I'm saying is that she is going to have serious problems. And she's just one. We're talking about whole generations of people. how are they going to run things? How are they going to keep, the trains on time, and computers running and all this shit? They're going to be fucked in the head, something awful. And that's the thing of my fear, because if you have a population that can't run shit, like Idiocracy, where the people couldn't figure out how to run stuff.
But
Right?
Brando, yeah. They're putting Gatorade on the crops.
Yeah. Yes, putting Gatorade on it. I'd forgotten that. That was wild. Yeah. No, but anyway, I mean, the world is
we're really heading in a bad trajectory, I was just like, not trying to name drop, but I was just on Alex Jones's show. He did like an 18-hour broadcast. And he's like, Alex, I like when you're more serious, like when you're on, and now I'm really name dropping, like when you're on Tucker Carlson, you're all serious. Because I started the interview, I was being very black pilled. He's like, what do you think about Klaus Schwab? I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. We've already sold our souls to the globalists or something like that, He's like, you're very black pilled. I think we're still going to win. And I was like, no, I do think we're going to win. And then I get positive and I get goofy. He's like, be more serious. But I guess my point with all that is saying, it's like everything's so insane. I think we can only laugh at it at this point. They're trying to mock the system back because it's mocking us,
Yeah.
Especially that I think that's our only method where we can really find any personal, spiritual satisfaction or whatever. I mean, you can find spiritual satisfaction in different ways, but by being like mad at the world, like I even know people that are like Christians or, religious and they're really mad. I don't think we should be like that. We should be laughing and trying to be, jovial about, even when times are tough. That's when we should try to be the funniest. And that's why I kind of respect you in a war zone. You still have to keep your sense of humor, which I don't know if I could do the same.
Well, that's a reason. I mean, I don't want to sound like a mutual appreciation society, but that's one of the big reasons that I really respect what you're doing, because I recognize that you're poking fun at this whole bullshit. And I very much support that, because humor is the ultimate acid, okay? Because when you're saying something stupid and everybody takes it seriously, okay, but when somebody points and just fucking laughs and just says, what the fuck are you doing, moron? That's when everybody sort of like wakes up and says, whoa, this comedian here, he's right. And this shit is crazy.
People can look it up. Type in like Alex Stein in this Hawaii meeting, but it was like their Fox or their ABC local covered it. I called into one where they were closing a road, and some of these businesses, like their businesses, these tourists wouldn't be able to get there and I called in. I was like, you dumb Hawaiians, a rock hit my car, and then the tow truck driver slept with my wife, and I got a DWI because I'd been smoking weed or something like that. And I said, you're a bunch of dumb Hawaiians. I didn't realize that was like a slander. And so they kicked me out of the meeting. It made news. And when they interviewed the guy, it was like this contentious meeting before I spoke. Like people were like, "You're going to ruin our business." And out of all the stuff I've done, that was when my DMs were filled with the most threats. Like, I'm going to get you. I'm like, whoa, these people are just insane. But I would go to Hawaii. And now my point is the newscaster, they did a freaking report on it, right? And then as soon as the reporter asked the guy that was running the meeting, well, did it mess up the meeting? The guy said, no, I don't want to give him clout, but it actually helped the meeting, because once I act like a goofball and then I make myself the butt of the joke, it takes the weight off of everybody else, because all these like meetings are ultra serious and stuff. So there does need to be somebody that takes the pressure. We all take everything so seriously. So there's like a necessary need for somebody we can all bully or laugh at. And that's why also with my content, I try to like Ethan, and not to even bring up those guys, a lot of them, they like to share content and hate on other people. I try to actually make myself the butt of my own joke most of the time. If you watch my stuff, really, I know I'm like playing a character or something like that, but I kind of, I want to tease stuff, but I don't really even want to be maliciously mean. I want to try to be like laughing and making fun of stuff in like in a non-mean way.
That video that you did with the homeless guy shaking the little money cup, right, to that moron, right? It was screamingly funny because the guy just didn't know how to react at all. And I think that's funny. That's funny. And you're absolutely right, because, why are we worrying about, or why are Americans worrying about some conflict that's thousands of miles away and not worrying about their own shit? But it's like, it's
dude, Gonzalo, don't you think America could sit them down and come to an agreement and end this in 2 seconds? But they want it to happen. I'm saying America wants this.
Well, no, it's not America. Most Americans
or NATO. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. They're globalists. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I know. I want to make that clear too.
You want to know the problems with Americans? You want to know the big problem with Americans is that they're too fucking nice. That's the problem with Americans. I've lived in the United States. I've lived in California, Miami, New York, Texas, New Hampshire. Americans, compared to most people in the rest of the world, they are salt of the earth. and they have an incredible amount of patience for putting up with people's bullshit. That's the problem, because people in America are fucking too nice. They put up with bullshit and don't say, hey, this is stupid. They don't say that because they're too fucking nice. They should just, I mean, I hate to put in these vulgar terms. They should grow some balls and say, hey, this is stupid. We're not going to do it. But no. And so the government, the people, the entrenched bureaucrats do whatever the fuck they want because they know that there isn't going to be any pushback from the people. And so they are fomenting this war. And this war is, Jesus Christ, man, it's fucking bloody. I mean, dude, you have no idea the kinds of videos that you can see on Telegram. I'm not on Telegram officially. I have a sock puppet account just to monitor stuff. But I'm telling you, the video that comes out of the contact line where these guys are actually fighting, it is fucking horrifying. I mean, it is just off the charts. Nothing that I could tell you can. It's off the charts, right? And if people actually saw that, they would realize our government is pushing this shit for no reason whatsoever except pride. That's the thing, because these guys, they figured, oh, we'll fuck with the Russians. And the Russians, hit back. And so they're like, okay, we'll put a little more. And doubling down like a bad gambler, constantly doubling down, and they don't know when to quit. And that's the thing that is just, it's
sick. No, and I don't even want to think about the front lines, because even the videos you see on Twitter where like people are taped to poles and stuff. I mean, and that's both sides. I'm just saying it's disgusting. And Americans like Dan Crenshaw here is like, oh, this is great. We're fighting a proxy war with Russia. Well, and I was saying this too. The last time we fought a proxy war with Russia, we created the Taliban. We were giving people in the Middle East literally weapons to fight Russians. And then because of that, those same weapons were used against us very shortly thereafter in a war in the Middle East that lasted 20 years. So it's all a scam. It's like, oh, look at those SIGs. Those are awesome. You got 2 packs a day. But what does it cost there? Are those super expensive there? Or what is it a pack cost?
They're rising in price. They're a couple of bucks now. And so, I'm just going to show you there that it's an actual Ukraine cigarettes, because, there are lots of.
Oh, that's Ukraine cigarettes.
Yeah,
that's Ukraine. Wait. Oh, they don't believe that you're in Ukraine.
Yeah, no. The haters, they say that I'm in like, you can see the little. Hang on, let me see there.
Where do they say you're at? Yeah, I believe it. No, but
they say I'm in Vienna.
Oh, Vienna.
And
like, wouldn't Vienna be beautiful?
Vienna, and it's fucking boring.
Oh, it's boring. But wouldn't Vienna be nice right now? I mean, it's cold probably, but I mean, wouldn't Austria? Wait, Vienna.
I prefer to be here, man. I mean, this is really exciting. Yeah, I'm in the fucking center of this international conflict that potentially has the chance of escalating into World War III. I wouldn't be any other place in the world. I'm not kidding. Okay. I mean, well,
is Ukraine?
Course, in the Seychelles
with Tahiti or something.
Three 10-foot tall Russian models. Yeah, well, they're short, but other than that, no. I prefer to be here because this is fucking cool. This is like.
I have to add.
Go ahead.
I have to ask the important question. So they closed the McDonald's in Russia and created their own like Russian version. But does Ukraine? Do you still have regular McDonald's, or did they close those?
They closed them up.
No. Yes. You're telling me McDonald's? You can't get McDonald's French fries right now.
No. You want to? No. And the worst part is I'm fucking addicted to that shit. The night before the war started, I arrived in Kiev, right? I had some business in Kiev. It was just bureaucracy shit, and I was meeting some business associates. And so I arrived the 23rd of February and in the afternoon, and I was like, oh, fuck it, I'll get some McDonald's. I got some McDonald's, right around the corner from my hotel.
It's better in Europe, or it's better in the Ukraine. Yes, it's always better in it's always better in other countries. Sorry.
Yeah, it is. Because the ingredients are fresher, better. There's something different about it. It tastes better. But like what happened was that was the last time I had McDonald's, February 23rd, 2022. So it's coming up on a year, and the next day the war started. I remember when my assistant called me. You see, my assistant was back here in Kharkov, right? And I was in Kiev, and she calls me like at 5 a.m. or some shit like that. And I'm thinking, oh, something happened, the kids, something, maybe the apartment burned up. What the fuck, right? And she's not going to call me at that hour. She's like, the war started. And I flipped on the TV and fucking the war had started, man. It was fucking awesome. Well, it's a little terrifying, but fucking amazing. Yeah. And no, it was like quite the adventure. And like what happened was that I started. I was winding down because I used to do a channel called Coach Red Pill, which was basically life advice for young guys. It wasn't,
Manosphere. So you were kind of like a Manosphere guy, right? Or
well,
the
I
kind
wasn't like a pickup, because they keep saying, like, in the hit pieces that they've done on me, they say that I'm a pickup artist, but I wasn't. I never told them how to pick up girls or some shit like that. I told them made videos about stuff that would be useful to somebody who's 19. Okay.
Kind of like self-help type stuff. Yeah, advice type stuff.
Like for instance, never give out a personal loan because you'll always get into a fight with whoever you lend money to. How to tip. Kinds of the normal shit that you, as an older guy, would tell a 19-year-old kid who doesn't know shit from China, right? And so I wound that down, but I still had the channel, and so I started doing these impromptu videos. Oh man, the hate that I got was off the charts. It was really fucking funny because they hated, the truth, because like I was hearing all kinds of crazy ass stories that there was fighting in the middle of Kiev, right? And I was right in the fucking middle of Kiev. I was at the Kiev Premier Palace Hotel, which is like right on like the equivalent of like Wilshire Boulevard or something like that. I forget the name of the big street in Dallas, but that kind of big avenue that's right in the center of it. And I started telling people, no, and when I heard that they were handing out weapons willy-nilly to whomever asked for weapons, I said, this is horrible. This is going to wind up in the hands of criminals. And it did. Eventually, they admitted it, that the only people who got the guns were like criminals and shit. No, and I would hear gunfire right near me. And I would hear on Telegram and other venues that the Russians were like 30 kilometers outside of Kiev, but I'm hearing gunfire that could have been 500 meters, 1,000 meters tops. I mean, I could hear the gunfire, and I'm like, fucking hey! They gave out these weapons to everybody willy nilly, and criminals are settling scores, or people are just having accidents with these weapons and shit like that. And they said I was a Putin apologist and a Russian shill, all kinds of bullshit. It was really fucking funny.
Wait, okay, hey, keep talking. I gotta get my freaking dog. My dog's barking. Hold on. Come on, Ginger. Sorry.
Oh, let's listen to this. Let's hear if we pick it up.
No, I got the dog. Okay, sorry about that.
Is the dog okay?
Yeah, no, I can hear her crying. This is her. Come here.
That's it.
This is a pit bull. That's what I'm saying. This is Ginger. Oh, she's stinky. What were you laying in the dirt? Dang. Okay.
You usually do. I used to have a dog too.
Yeah.
I miss my fucking dog. Yeah. If I had one wish right now, I wish I had a dog right now. Because, dude, it's lonely. Well,
how do you get a hamburger? So I'm sure it's lonely as that, and you're probably nervous. But how do you get a hamburger now? Like, what are you eating for lunch? What are you doing?
Yeah, I go to.
That's what I'm saying. So, but no restaurants are open. Even like you can't even get a hamburger.
A few here and there. A few here and there. Yeah. And you see some sites I cannot tell you in public at this time, but you see some really interesting sites in a lot of these restaurants. After the war or privately, I'll tell you the shit that you can see, but it's all kinds of.
Why? Because there's no rules? What about like drugs right now? Can you just be like a drug user?
Man. I wish I could have some acid right now. I mean, that's the thing that if you want to send me something, don't send me an iPhone, okay? Send me like, a strip of tabs of acid. Then I'd thank you forever. Because I have shitloads of time to do nothing, okay? Yeah. And so I'm writing a book, and that's all very intellectual and shit, and that's all great. But, you need to fill up your time with some entertainment because there's nothing going on here. I mean, everything is closed, right? And, I guess maybe 2/3 of the population, 60% of the population has left the city. And the people who are here, they're not going to tell you, but I'm figuring that they're mostly ethnic Russians, and they're kind of like waiting for the invasion because they're going to celebrate. I mean, of course, they're not saying it's public.
Yeah, really, that's the vibes. Wow. Yeah. So it's like an inside job, kind of. I mean, they're going to be kind of happy.
Oh no, and the Kiev regime, they know it. They've said so. They've said that they know that a lot of the Russian speakers. They're very quiet and docile and like no big deal, Yeah, we support Slava Ukraine and all that, but bottom line, they're like, we're waiting for the Russians to invade, and you can sense it in the air. Okay, it's
no,
wild.
And then so what are they gonna do? So when the Russians invade, everybody just puts their hands up and say, "Oh, I'm Russian, I'm chill, I'm good." No, I'm serious. I mean, I know, but how do you? How do they
How
decide
do you
whether you're a bogey? But I'm saying because like you just say, oh, I like you, I guess. I mean, like I
I
mean,
don't know how it's going to play out. I mean, that's
yeah.
one of the things I want to see when it happens, right?
So,
You know,
I
but
swear, I love Russia. I love Russia. There's a Russia flag. I swear. I mean,
no,
I just kind of.
see, the people who are like pro Zelensky regime, who are ethnic Ukrainians, they left already. Okay, so the
They're
people who
gone.
stayed, they know what
Where'd
they're
they
getting.
go?
They went
Where
to the
did
West.
Poland?
They went to
Yeah.
Poland. They went to France. They went to Germany, Denmark, all kinds of places. And a lot of them have settled in. I've been in touch with a lot of them, and they've settled in, and they have no intention of coming back. I mean, look, this war, the country that is left over after this war is going to be a shell of its former self. Okay, I did a Twitter thread on this. This is estimates, my own back of the envelope estimates, but I think that they're fairly reasonable. The original population of Ukraine is about 45 million, right? And it's credibly estimated by the United Nations that about 15 million have fled. About 11 million went to the West, to Western Europe, and another just shy of 4 million went to Russia because they're ethnic Russians. And so, and the Russians welcome them with open arms, just as the Europeans welcome those refugees with open arms. And so, you know, right off the bat, a third of the population is gone. Now, of the territories that the Russians have conquered and annexed, that's another 9 million roughly. And if you figure, so right there, you see that the population that's left over is about 21 million tops, okay? Now, that's less than half the original population. Now, if you add in the fact that the Russians are going to continue and annex other territories, specifically the cities of Kharkov, Dnipropetrovsk, and Odessa, that's another roughly 6 to 7 million people. So the country that remains is going to be a shell of its former self. And on top of that, this Ukrainian diaspora, the people who went to the West, most of them are women. That's the thing, you know? Yeah.
Hot Ukrainian women. Yeah, so they're not going to be able to make new babies. All the Ukrainian babies are going to be...
They're going to be in Europe. They're going to find some nice fella out in Europe. They already have jobs and stuff like that. They're not coming back, okay? And so, you know, the country... You got a cat there?
Yeah, Sky Bear, come here. He's going crazy. What the heck? Sky Bear. Now he's hiding. I can't get him. Yeah, no. So all the hot babes, all the Ukrainians there. So the country is going to be, maybe they're doing it to destabilize it. But do you know I mean, I don't know if it's a conspiracy, but I was on the space arguing with this. I was under the impression, I think Russia just doesn't want to get into World War III, but they could kill you. They could win this war in one swoop, right? I mean, couldn't they just drop a bomb and really freaking...
It's a little more complicated than that. Look, the way the Russians are prosecuting this war is the best way that they can do it and inflict as few casualties among civilians as possible. Now, Reuters, just yesterday, as a matter of fact, they came out with the numbers of civilians killed. And they estimate it's about 9,000. And 9,000 is a lot of people. But the scale of this conflict is so large that everybody's like shocked because it was like only 9,000 people. Because this conflict is huge. I mean, you got to understand that the front line of this shit is 1,000 miles long. Well, no, it's 1,000 kilometers long, about 600 and some odd miles long. Yeah. And so this is a huge war. You've got huge armies and grinding away at each other. I mean, really shelling the fuck out of each other. I mean, dude, the Russians are throwing over 20,000 shells, 20,000 shells, you know, artillery rounds, you know, the 6-inch artillery rounds per day, okay? To give you a scale of this.
I know who benefits from that. I'm just saying, who benefits from that? You know,
well, in the West, it's the military-industrial complex and the people in Washington.
I mean, it's just it's just wasted. They're probably shooting that. I mean, you know, sometimes they hit something, but it's all waste. It just sucks.
No. It's not wasted. They are hitting shit.
It hits stuff, but dude, but I don't think there's any more bloat or waste in the military-industrial complex when it just comes to spending stuff. I mean, they literally just do. They like it. A lot of the weapons that we're buying, suppose you don't even go to the front lines. Have you seen that? Where they say, I mean, so like
CBS reported
they don't even get the bombs. I mean, they don't even get the freaking bullets for that. So I mean, it's all a racket. It's Medley Butler.
Yeah, well, you know, and the other day, some asshole checked in his checked luggage. He brought a Javelin missile.
The 80 caliber gun or whatever. What was it? Yeah, Javelin missile. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
And it was like, what the fuck? And it was supposed to go to Ukraine. It's fucking it was in Texas. I forget which, San Antonio, I think it was. What the fuck was it doing there? They went in the black market and got sold. CBS did a report, and that they put the kibosh on that report. They estimated that only 30% of the gear was getting to the front lines, and the rest, the other 70%, poof, somebody was making money off that shit. And on top of that, see, the West really miscalculated because they figured that the Russians don't spend as much money, not nearly as much money, as the West does. And what happened was that, there's a famous story of the Russians' approach to shit, right? During the space program, the space race in the 60s, right? The Americans, NASA, developed a zero gravity pen, right? And they spent $1 million to develop this zero gravity pen. And the Russians, what they did, they used a fucking pencil. That's what the Russians
smart.
do.
I know the Russians, but Russia. Listen, this is why I also think why this just doesn't make sense. So NATO wants to fight this war. I mean, why are these countries? I guess is it climate change? Like, if these countries rely on Russia for natural resources, why do they want to theoretically get in World War III? That's why I'm kind of like, how does this is the wrench in the whole kind of equation.
Oh, they got manipulated into it.
So now they're just toast. But I'm saying, what happens? So they get in a war. We get in World War III. Is Russia going to keep providing energy to Europe?
Well, the thing is, how they are, because they cut off the gas supply and the oil supply and all this shit and price caps and all this bullshit, right? So how the Europeans are getting oil and gas, right? They're buying it from the Indians, who are buying it from the Russians. Because the Russians just pivoted, they were like selling to Europe. They just pivoted and sold it to the Indians. And middlemen in India are making money hand over fist off the dumb European. The fucking Brits didn't have for Christmas? They didn't have eggs or chicken or geese or turkeys. They just ran out of fucking eggs, man. I'm here in Ukraine. I can get eggs. Okay, it's not a hassle. I can get a box of 10 eggs for $1, or $1.25. Okay, the equivalent.
That's what it was before this, but now it's like $7 at the grocery store, $5 or something.
Well, it's all that sweet money that you, as an American taxpayer, are sending here to Ukraine, man. So I can get cheap food and
cheap eggs.
You have to pay through the nose for this shit. Thank you very much.
I honestly feel that way. You know how I stand. I hate it. I don't understand. I mean, there's a whole entire misappropriation of funds within our federal government. So don't even get me started. And then the integrity of elections. Oh my gosh. And then there's just so many issues. I'm so anti-establishment.
You're a guy with his ear on the ground. People in the States, man. What's the vibe of people in the States? Because I follow a lot of channels, a lot of very small channels, some of them, that talk about how people are really in a bad situation. They don't have money.
Dude, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. This is how it is. Sorry, I just had to burp that out. I've been holding my burps. Excuse me. I had a huge burp. Sorry for the audience playing at home, because I'm about to say something intense. Do you remember after 9/11, were you in America and after 9/11?
You want to hear my 9/11 story? I lived on 85 Pearl Street, apartment number 4 in Manhattan, Lower Manhattan, okay, which was 3 blocks away from the World Trade Center. And I left the United States, and I have my passport to prove it. I left on August 11, 2001. I missed it by 30 days.
Wow, good for you. Thank goodness.
I wish I'd been there. I would have wanted to fucking see it, Although
yeah, I see that. Okay, yeah, that would have been intense.
Although I'll tell you right now, I think I probably would have been killed, and I'll tell you why. Because in Lower Manhattan, that was on a Tuesday, right? And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, perhaps not in September, but certainly because Tuesdays and Thursdays there was a farmer's market on the parking lot around the first tower that got hit, okay, the North Tower, and I do believe so, or maybe the South Tower. Okay, fuck it, doesn't matter. But the point is that there was this farmer's market every Tuesday and Thursday morning during summer, and in the fall it was just Tuesday morning. So I definitely would have been there because it was just convenient. I'd walk the dog, and pop over there and pick up fresh vegetables and shit for the week, And I would have been there when it hit, because it was like around 9 a.m., right? or a little bit before 9, and the dog would get me up, how
to
dogs are. When they
go
gotta
pee.
go,
Yeah.
you gotta go pee.
No, I know.
And
So
so
you could have
I would have been
got
there.
squashed like a bug.
Yes. Okay. So sometimes I think to myself, man, I wish I'd been there. Other times I think to myself, man, I never found out exactly what happened to that farmer's market in 9/11. But it's always something that I thought to myself, maybe I got really lucky, because a lot of people were killed by debris. And so, because you see it on camera, and it's just like little, it looks like dust. Dude, those are fucking rocks. It looks like dust, but when you look at it, it's
That's
big pieces
concrete
of
steel.
concrete.
Yeah. That's just the dust that we can see. No, it's terrible. And everybody that lost their life in 9/11, it just makes me sick. But this is my point. After 9/11, we came together as a country, where there was so much support and pride for New York City. As a matter of fact, New York became like, the number one tourist destination in the world, and it became, probably, cleaned up and gentrified, almost a little too gentrified, really, honestly, a little too commercial. But my point is, after that, it brought us all together. This terrible thing, but everybody, it didn't matter, black, white, Mexican, everybody was like, man, 9/11, like America, like even if you weren't American, everybody was American for that, for a little bit.
Even the Russians. Even the Russians.
Is saying even the Russians, everybody had a little bit of America in them,
Yep.
But after this COVID thing, dude, it's like the opposite. It's like, I hate the American flag. America shut down the country, so like the whole world's mad at us because we shut down the country. When Donald Trump, for all the Trump stands, and I liked a lot of stuff he did as president, but him shutting us down, that set the precedent for the pharmaceutical industrial complex to shut everybody else down. And so in a way, 9/11 brought the world together, and then COVID has separated us more, because now the freaking mask is the MAGA hat for the left. So they got their new mask, and now everybody's wearing a mask again. And now everybody's the science.
They're
the
wearing
masks. They're I've been traveling a lot lately. Yeah, I'm seeing more and more masks, which really, the libertarian in me, I hate the vax, I don't want to say too much, but if you want to get it, you want to wear your mask at this point, I used to yell at people, go ahead, do whatever the hell you want, and if that makes you feel better mentally. I'm at the point now where it's not my job to convince you how to feel. I'm done like shaking people, do this, do that. I don't want to tell, I'm not a role model. You live your life. But I'm just saying, it's divided us in such a way that I actually do think we aren't going to go to civil war. And I think like we could come together in a sense, anecdotally come together if we're always going to be fighting. But we're just so at odds with ideology. Kids are so political, everything's politicized.
Everything. Yeah.
Yeah, everything is just so intense now. It's hard, and with the internet, it's just hard for almost something tragic again would have to happen for us to come together, sadly. But COVID didn't do it. I thought COVID might have, but it just separated us more. Oh, I'm pro-vax, I'm anti. It just split us up way worse.
The BLM riots, because everyone was like, you can't go and hug grandma, right? Oh, but it's perfectly fine to go and protest BLM. And we're supposed to be in a fucking pandemic. And the virus can figure out that, you're one of the good guys who are supporting BLM. And, if you want to hug granny.
George Floyd had the biggest funeral in the world. And then other people couldn't even go to their parents' funeral. What the hell? Dude, they couldn't. Don't even get me started. I don't even want to get emotional.
I'm going to bring on one of my Patreon supporters. Chris is not here. Chris, how's it going? You there?
Yeah, I'm here. What's going on?
Hey, how's it going? What do you got to say to Alex Stein? You're live.
Oh, no, just going back to what you said about those kids in schools that are, with the gay pride flags and the face muzzles and all that. Dude, those kids in 20 years, they're going to be so fucked up. Like,
yeah, that's what we're saying, man.
Yeah.
It's going to be off the charts. Yeah.
It's irreparable damage.
What?
Anything else on your mind?
Oh, no, that's about it, really. I'm just make your money in the States and then get the fuck out of here. That's about it.
What van is that, Chris? That van looks kind of badass. It's black on the interior. What is that, a cargo? What are you doing in that?
It's cargo van. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris is a supporter on Patreon. And he lives in his van. He's actually in Texas.
Oh, that's to say. So that's your van. Do you live in that van? It looks kind of badass. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
did you paint it on the inside? Did you paint that? Oh, it was came black. Stock. I've never seen that. That looks cool.
Yeah. No, Chris, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate it. You take care. Oh.
See ya.
See you guys later.
No, what you call it? No, the whole thing of breaking everything apart. The thing that I'm shocked about is that everything is so politicized, no matter how trivial it is. And so the COVID thing got way politicized. The vax thing got way politicized. And let's talk about the medication. So I don't get squashed on YouTube, right? But the
we're
medication
pro-vaccine. We love the vaccine. It's the best thing ever. Thank you, Dr. Fauci. We're pro-vax.
Fauci #1. Yeah. Yes. But the medication, which I don't know what that medication, medication, dude, people are dropping like fucking flies. And a lot of the people who took the medication, they are getting so fucking pissed at us who said, don't take this fucking medication, man. And
Hank Haney, a golf legend, he's like, I don't regret doing it. I just regret, he's just like, I just regret he's like, I don't regret the decision I made. I forget how he tweeted it, but basically he's like, I just wish I would have known, kind of. But it's like, we told you, we told you. I
saw this great meme where somebody was saying, the meme said, the people who got the medication wished for us who didn't to die, but we who did not wished that you would live.
That's the sentiment. We want you to live. You want us to die. That is, people like Howard Stern said, like, unvaccinated people shouldn't be treated at the hospital.
Yeah. Yeah. They're fucking psychotic. Anyway, look, we've gone on for about an hour and a half. It's been really a great conversation with you. I hope you enjoyed it.
We'll do it again. Yeah. And like I said, I got a show coming out on the Blaze. I definitely want you to Skype into that from the front lines,
It'll be my pleasure.
So, we'll do it.
I got nothing better to do, man. I got like
cool. No,
so
I'll have you on. All right.
Chat, I hope that you enjoyed the show. Alex, stick around after the end of the show so I can just say a private thank you. And chat, I hope you enjoyed the show. And on Saturday, I'm going to have on Clayton Morris. And let me see here real quick. I got more reports on Twitter that people don't like my tweets. Oh wow, big surprise. But anyway, I'm definitely having Clayton Morris on, and potentially another guest who's like a big brain, and I'm trying to get him on, and I'm sure I will, because he's a great guy, but I don't want to jinx it yet. But Clayton Morris is for sure on, and he's a great guy. He's over on Redacted. And so I hope you tune in on Saturday. Until then,